Thank you very much. I'll give you one of my fathers. He was one of these guys that he didn't sing or dance, but he told stories. And this is a story about a man that came to this country in 1798. And this is what happened to him. It was after the war in the year 1798, when all the young fellows were scattered and beat. 'Twas a custom at the time, when a peasant was got, to hang him by trial, and such had been shot. And it was in but hard times for an honest gossoon, for if he didn't meet the police, he'd meet the dragoon. And whether the judges or soldiers gave sentence, well, the devil in much time was left for repentance. And as many as a fine boy was then on his caping, with small sheriffs sitting or resting or sleeping. And because he loved Ireland and scorned not to sell it, a prey for the bloodhound, a mark for the bullet, unrested by night and unsheltered by day, with his straw stacked for his barracks and revenge for his pay. But the bravest and noblest and best lad of them all, he was Shamus O'Brien from the town of Glengall. His body was well set and his feet they were light, and the keen-fanged hound had no tooth of his white. And his face was as pale as the face of the dead, and his cheeks never warmed with the blush of the red. And for all that he wasn't an ugly young boy, well, the devil himself wouldn't blaze in his eye. So cold and so wicked, so calm and so bright, like a fire that flashes o'er the dead of the night. And he was the best moor that ever was seen, and the elegantest hurler that ever had been. For in fencing he gave Jim Looney a cut, and in fencing he beat Pat Maloney a foot. And for elegance of foot there was not in his fear, for be Jesus Christ Almighty, he'd outrun the red deer, and his dancing was such that the men used to stare, and the women gone crazy. He did it so queer. And sure the whole world had to give in to him there. Well, 'twas he was a lad that was hard to be caught, and 'tis oft times he ran, and 'tis oft times he fought. And I remember the neighbours and them telling me quite well the queer things he did. And 'tis oft I heard tell how he frightened the magistrate in Caherbally and escaped from the soldiers in Arlo Valley. And flaked now 4 yeomen, himself again 4, and leather 4 more in sweet Baltimore. Well, the fox we flees sometimes, and the wild deer must rest, and treachery plays on the blood of the best, with a small 1,000 deeds and great things in the past, if in the darkness of night he wasn't taken at last. Well, Shamus looked back at the beautiful moon, for the door of the prison must close on him soon. And farewell to the patrons, the dances, the wakes, farewell to the girls that would die for his sakes. And 12 soldiers brought him to Marlborough jail, with Armstrong bound and refusing all bail. And the dreams of his childhood came over him there, as cold and as fresh as the clear morning air. Well, on a week or 2 after his trial it came on, and the court now was filled with a terrible throng. There was such a great crowd that the people were bothered, and attorneys and criers on the eve had been smothered. And councillors there as pale as the dead, and the jury sitting up in a box overhead. And silence was called, and the minutes were read, and the court was as still as the face of the dead. And they read a big writing, Abby Jesus about a yard long at least, and Shamus O'Brien didn't mind it a taste. And the judge took a big pinch of snuff and he says, "Are you guilty or not, Jim O'Brien, if you please?" "My lord, now, your honour, for in my lifetime, if I did any wrong or commit any crime. But if you would ask me, and this I would like, for if in the rebellion I carried a pike, and fought for old Ireland from the first to the close, and shed the lash blood of his bitterest foes, I would answer you yes, though my veins they run dry, for the cause I was willing, and I'm ready to die. What zeal in Silas was great, the judge smiling bright, the judge dying laughing, the job was made light. Be heavens, it's himself is that cabbard old cap, and with a twinkling he put on his big black old cap. Well, Shamus's mother and the crowd standing by cried out to the judge with a terrible cry, "Oh, the judge, darling judge, oh, don't put him to ruin. The lad, he is young, he didn't know what he was doing. He's the kindest creature, the tenderest hearted. Oh, parted forever, we're not too long parted. Judge Mulbunny, forgive him, oh, forgive him, my lord, and God will forgive you. Now don't say the word." This was the first time that O'Brien was shaken, that he thought that he was forgotten and forsaken, and into his eyes the tears began to gather, fell down his red cheeks one drop after the other. Well, the morning was bright, and the clouds were on high, and the Latin was singing in the clear morning sky. And why are the people sitting idly so late? And why are the people standing out on the street? Shamus O'Brien, pray fervent, play fast. The saints will soon have you, this day is your last. And on to the scaffold the cat took a stand, and the hangman stepped up with a rope in his hand, and the good priest, having prayed, stepped onto the ground, and Shamus O'Brien took one last look around. But the good priest done more, his arms he unbound, and with one mighty leap, Shamus jumps on the ground. Well, bang, bang goes the carabies, and bang goes the scapers. He's not dead, he's alive. Now attend to him, neighbours. Well, the soldiers ran this way, and more ran that, and if Father Maloney lost his use on the hat. Says Shamus's mother, let your scabbards go bang, for 'tis if ye want hanging, 'tis yourselves ye must hang. For tonight he'll be sleeping in Nahallow Glen, and the devil in the dices wouldn't catch him again. Well, in a week after that, without firing a cannon, if a big Yankee schooner sailed through the mouth of the Shannon, the captain sent word he was going straight to Cork, but be Jesus Christ Almighty, he was bound for New York. And 6 months after that, and as sure as you're there, if a letter didn't come to the town of Kildare, to Mrs. O'Brien in Ireland or elsewhere, I am sending you a passage. You better shank it for Cork, and before very long you'll arrive in New York. And tell now my Biddy for her to be aware of that old butler that calls him the Lord of Kildare. And as for those soldiers, those great men of slaughter, I hate them as well as the devil hates holy water. And when you arrive in New York, ask the fastest way to go to the town of Cincinnati in the state of Ohio, and there you'll be made happy and never made crying at the Harp and the Eagle, ran by Shamus O'Brien. Sinead, thank you.